Oh my God. Help me, Lord. Woo, shit. Mm. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Help me, Lord. Mm-mm-mm. God damn. Hey, how you doing? Give me a minute. I just got back to the home. Um, you got to be fucking crazy. Um, I just got back to the home. Why I say it like that? I just got back to the home. I had 2 glasses of wine this evening, and I went to my favorite dive spot. And if I don't get this shit out right now, I'm gonna explode. I'm gonna explode. I'm gonna fucking explode, more. I had to go to this place tonight. I'm gonna explode. Whoo, my God. Let me. Yeah, honey, it was red. Yeah, listen, Tisha, you see it. It was red. But I also had one of those gummies. Let me tell you something. I had Merlot, and I've not had Merlot. See, I told you I don't drink a lot. Honey, them 2 glasses of wine, and we got to talking about politics in there. And I mean politics, intersectionality, religion, spirituality, Yeshua. Tonight, there were only 3 or 4 of us, and honey, we were having a discussion. We were having a discussion about life, honey. The perspectives in there, the power of a conversation. Woo, boy. Humanity is so fucking special. This was the anomaly. Boy, we had so much. I learned so much tonight by having a discussion with a professor, a bartender, and someone that just started therapy. My God, boy. And I had taken notes. Honey, I was taking notes. I was taking notes, honey. There is something about people, and if I don't say this now, I'm gonna forget it. And even though I wrote it down, and I'm writing an essay right now, I had to put this all together. First of all, my name is Indigo. You can call me Zoe though if you like, because my legal name is Zora Odessa Lou Thomas. In case you dox me, I don't have shit. By the way, TikTok don't flag me for hate speech because they want to ban my account, but I'm not a hateful person. I just tell the truth. I have a powerful opinion from what they say. Listen, hey, how you doing tonight? If you don't like what I'm saying, just please scroll. I don't want to lose my account. I love people, and I'm trying to teach my people something. I'm trying to save the world. If you don't like it, just scroll past it. You just don't fucking like it. There are some links in the bio for families in Gaza and Palestine. There's an active genocides going on. Sudan, Congo, Palestine, Tigray. Please look it up. All right? If you feel so inclined, there's a Cash App, PayPal, Venmo in there. If I don't get this out right now, I will explode. And if I was not talking to Micah, his name was Micah, before I left this house, and my Mercury hour aligned said, this is your Mercury hour, because I got the Align membership for $10 a year. This is not a paid sponsorship. But it's great that my Mercury hour hit as I was leaving. A man named Micah that just began shadow work and going to therapy, and lightning did not strike at 9/11. I took a screenshot. In case you didn't believe me, I took a screenshot and then a fucking picture. So I knew I had to get on here tonight. And I'd be goddamned if this young man named Micah did not just say today that he learned today that the heart has electric currents and signals that make the mouth speak. He just said that today. I just said that to y'all today. in an earlier session, did I not? In case you were here. I just said that to y'all today. He just repeated it tonight. So if I don't get here right now and say this, even though I took notes, I fire it all in one shot. I don't make this shit up. I just live transparently. Do you remember when the GOP was so hard pressed on voter ID registration and now they're doing voting drop boxes? Hold this right there. I want you to put that point right there. Remember I taught y'all about the housing crisis and how they were using cop cities for the poor working class by using slave camps, concentration camps, etc. How they were using slave farms and forced labor. Remember I told y'all that before? I think you do. I told y'all that before. In case you don't know. The formalized police department, my mouth is dry. It was red wine. At the police department, formalized after the emancipation population, and they were using vagrancy laws to get formerly enslaved folks back into indentured servitude, poor labor. They're creating a new working class. They're creating a new working class that was both white and black. Okay? These things were funded by the federal government to the states' governments in order to avoid paying reparations to the Confederacy. They were getting that lick back because the entire South was funded by slave labor. And to get out of paying them back for what they were owed through insurance companies, they created vagrancy laws instead, that if you did not have a job, if you could not provide an address, if you can't provide those things, when the only employer at the time in the antebellum South was being back on those plantations instead and turning those houses into rent instead. So now they're living in these row houses that used to be slave quarters and they're paying rent. So those that had no proof of employment and identification instead were sent to prisons. Now you can look that up because that's proof. And before I even go further, I'm a disabled vet, a PTSD vet, a military sexually assaulted vet. Okay? I have my bachelor's degree in psychology. I served for 7 years, and I used to fix planes. Okay? I got my psychology degree so I can diagnose myself. And then I got my master's degree in social justice and human rights. And I've done all of this live and in color for the past over 4 years now. Okay? My entire life's work is to leave the earth better than how I fucking found it. Okay? And if you don't like what I'm saying, then just scroll the fuck on. Because everything I'm saying to you can easily be found on Google. I did the studying so you wouldn't have to. And if you're asking me, how do you know this? I'm currently reading The Gods of... My entire living room's covered in books. Because I want to get my doctorate degree, but I think higher education is a scam and I can't afford it. And only to get my doctorate so y'all believe me. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just like learning. So anyway, that's how they created a new poor working class. And that's why unions were so dangerous. Because these poor white folks, these poor black folks, these poor Indian folks are having a conversation with the poor Irish, the poor Polish, the tired, the poor, the huddled masses are getting together on the same plantations that you corralled us in because you believe, and the architects believe, that only rich white men should lead. Okay? Okay. The current book I'm reading? Gods of the Blood. And I only got to page 11 and I had to stop because I was taking so many fucking notes. Because I already knew this shit. I already knew it. I pick up books, it comes out when I already knew it. And under that book is boring me, so I'm going to try to learn physics tomorrow because I want to learn everything I possibly can so I can help people. I just want to help people, man. So anyway. So when I had told you guys about cop cities and how they were going to make the homeless they were going to criminalize it, essentially. I told you guys that. They were going to criminalize it on purpose and make it a class war. Because when we conflate race I'm about to cry. When they conflate, because y'all think that I'm bullshitting. I really do. This is my life's work. I just want to help people. I just want to save the planet, man. So anyway, and how do they do this? Redlining the Rust Belt, the Cancer Belt, particularly redlining, insidious, credit scores, all of those things. And you can't say that because the West is changing. The global West is changing. It really is. The United States is not. This is not the Aryan. Honey, you may know the logos word of the Constitution, but you don't know the spirit, hon. You don't know the spirit. You know how it's written. You don't know the spirit. And logos is the objective in how things are written. And rhema is the utterance of those things. You have underestimated the power of a conversation, the power of going to a dive bar and talking. And when the Jew, the priest, the Christian priest, the Muslim, the secular, and the humanist walk into a bar, you've never been there before because you went to places that looked like you. You want this to be homogenous, and that's not how this goes. That's not how that works, hon. That leads to endogamy and pedigree collapse. That leads to stagnation, my dear. That leads to a stacking of too many pathogens, and there are no antigens because you believe in racial purity and keeping your bloodline pure. And food deserts, gentrification. Hello. And a food desert, Tucson is one of the worst food deserts. They have more fast food spots, and they're so not close to fresh produce. It's a food desert. They're living out of processed foods and trans fats, hun. And not only are they living in instant pots, we all are. Now, why would they target the unhoused and raise rents? Why would they raise the prices of rent? Because guess why the GOP, they were so focused on identification? Because once you're unhoused, it nullifies your voter registration. A professor and I discussed that tonight. If you are unhoused, it nullifies your voter registration because you can't prove where your ID comes from. They're expecting low voter turnouts this year because in order to levy that millennials in overwhelming droves are liberals, how do they fix that? They raise your fucking rent. They compensate by evening the scales. You don't want to vote for us? We're going to price you out of your house. And that nullifies your voter registration because you can't get it. And we fire them out randomly. And if you don't respond back in a certain period of time, your voting is nullified. And now they're on the street. And they're building cop cities. I told you they were not for us, they were for you. And when you live in a society where what it doesn't matter your skin tone, and I don't understand how y'all don't put that all together. The intersection of race and class is blurred on purpose, that the closer you get to being white, that makes you wealthy, when inherently that is not true. When you need both race and class, you have to look a certain way. be a certain weight, be a certain kind of, be this, and then do you understand what I'm saying to you? It's the intersection of race and class, when all we have had as being the poor, tired, the huddle, the global majority, is being. That's why I told you to abandon the concept of race, because it puts you in a voting block. You're only a demographic to people. You're only a slice of a pie. You're only slicing into a pie, hon. You're a voting block. That's all you are. You're an age demographic. Leave the demographic and find something else. Because being white is not the default to being American. They have underestimated the power of the American spirit. Because they know the logos and how it's said, but they don't understand the utterance of the languages. You're not hearing me. And you're not supposed to. Because the shocks in my heart don't radiate out of my mouth through these vocal flaps. And you can't hear it thrumming on your fucking eardrums, my dude. You can't understand me, and that's intentional. When I listened to the J.D. Vance clip about him advocating that women stay in violent marriages, and that's what's devastated our community, it pissed me off. It pissed me off because not only is he a fraud, that's not the Appalachian way. And before y'all hit me, oh, Appalachia is, honey. No, honey, the white working class are at union meetings. Your ass has never been. The Appalachian way is talking about Elizabeth at the union function, but exchanging potato salad recipes, honey, because we're having fucking conversations. And we're changing the minds because we're having a fucking conversation. Oh, I never saw it that way, Judy, at the union meeting. Even though that bitch has the onion hair. You have underestimated the power of community because we're all in the same plantations. And as you're whispering to the white one that he makes 2 cents less because the Mexican was the one that took the job. As he's whispering to the Asian one, the reason why you're not like me is because you don't have this. And they're all making the same amount of money as the master gets richer and richer. Because you're working on the same plantation against the other for the same motherfucker. I need water. Because the DNC and the RNC is full of shit. And because you do not hate the whip, you only hate being in front of the whip when you want to be like the master. And that was by design. That the closer you get to being white, cisgender, male, this way, with these genetics and this money, that is the only way that you will be human. Until then, it is mankind, not humanity. It's mankind, not humanity. You're out of your fucking brain cells. You've underestimated the power of the human spirit. And you damn sure don't know America, because it damn sure is not J.D. Vance. He lied on the Appalachians, and the Appalachians don't... listen, I was in the creek, drinking that fucking water at the creek. I used to swim in the Susquehanna River. And let me tell you something, that's some nasty business. Swimming in the Susquehanna. Do you know? My family, they were leaving the South and going to fucking Canada. They only stopped in Pennsylvania because there was a carnival in town. Which makes sense because they're all fucking clowns. Makes sense? Shit. And even though they threw down roots in a carnival town, they grew that bitch. And the first black mayor up in that bitch was Mayor Reed, Black Reed. That's my third fucking cousin, twice removed. The men were clowns, but the women were doing this shit. The men were pimps. Honey, I have more white aunts than you do, and your whole family is Aryan. The girls that get it, get it. The girls that don't, hun. Got a lot of white aunts around here. Okay? That can make macaroni and cheese that would put Bertha to shame. Fuck Bertha in that Greater Zion church hat. I got an Aunt Linda. They have never had a wedding. Have no kids. But let me tell you something. They've been together for 50 years. That's just Aunt Linda. Aunt Linda's at the fucking function. Wearing a two-piece shell suit. That's Aunt Linda. You mean Aunt Linda? I got a lot of white aunts. I got a lot of Mexican sisters. You understand, honey? We got the Eve gene. Listen. As we were fleeing the South, we were fleeing into the mountains. We knew the mountains of Carolina. The Great Migration was a mass migration of free blacks that moved to the north. Do you understand something? We know the stars, the air. We had to follow indigenous routes. You have no idea that we had to dodge the civilized tribes and that we were found by the Blackfoot. We were found by the Tohono O'odham. We were found by the Mexicans that said, fuck France, we're going to do it our motherfucking way, that then repelled the Portuguese that had to do this. You don't know the Constitution the way that I know the fucking Constitution, because I left when they said that I had the freedom, the liberty, and life to motherfucking live, that we had to leave them fucking mountains. J.D. Vance knows a skin color. He don't know them Appalachians. I went to a goddamn boarding school. Honey, I was surrounded by them old white women. In Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, honey, I was in the valley. Honey, Scotland School for Veterans Children. I had and I called my first name after my first year. Bonnie, Marianne, Terry. Honey, I was their fucking favorite. Pam, Patty, Roberta, Di. Honey, because we're exchanging tea. Hey, boo-boo. Honey, I went to a boarding school. Honey, them white women love them black kids. It was not Kim Zolciak Berman that wasn't going to go to Africa with Kenya Nini because she wasn't going to hold little black babies, honey. You don't know. I was on the chapel committee and I was gay. In a boarding school, honey, and there was a fat ass reverend that couldn't stand me because as he was talking about the Bible, I was giving it right back to him. I said, I was raised apostolic in Kojic. I was raised apostolic in Kojic, and I know magic. I will put your ass in your place. At a boarding school, my first ever play that was for real, was in high school. It was Godspell. I sang On the Willows there. On the Willows there. I was Johnny Fontaine in the motherfucking Grease play. I wanted to be Susie, but I'm a kid of the 90s. They wasn't having that. You know what I mean? I was raised apostolic. I was raised apostolic. You gotta speak in tongues before you can leave the Terry session. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm going to hold that story right there. When I was praying for tongues. Now, listen, don't report me TikTok like this bitch is crazy. When I was, listen, I told you that I wanted the gift of wisdom and knowledge first. And I was in my boarding school. And my mother would come get me, thank you for that gift, on weekends. Right? Tap the screen, though, because I don't want TikTok to think I'm doing hate speech. They don't like when I'm talking. They're trying to ban my account. But anyway, and I told you that I didn't live with my mother from the ages of 3 to 10. I did not live with my mother. I was with her family. That's where all the abuse happened. Then my mother did her shit. You know what I mean? So honey, I was reading a lot of books, and I couldn't watch TV because I never wanted to be in the way because I would get hit. So I would sit on the stair, on the landing, and I would listen to the TV set, but I would play with dust. So I have a very active imagination. So as a kid, I was listening to my great grandmother pray in tongues, and I heard her, and she would get down there and she would pray, and I would hear, oh shit, and I'm like, oh my God, what is that? The house is going quiet. The birds have stopped chirping. I didn't want her possessions. I wanted what she had. You know what I mean? She used to feed birds, and my great grandmother was in her generation to be the first out of slavery. Her mother had 13 kids, and then my great grandmother had 9, and I think she had lost 2. And she raised her children as her husband was in the steel mills and the coal mines in Stilton, Pennsylvania. And her family settled in Middletown. Middletown and Stilton, they owned Harrisburg, man. They created a legacy. They were tall, slender, coal-skinned men that were smooth in zoot suits at 8 a.m. sharp. Beautiful men. And the women had some had cold skin, some had fair skin. My grandmother was fair skin and had red hair, and some have coarse hair, and some have hair like wool. I'm just storytelling. And some have hair like wool, but they had clear porcelain skin, and they were thick hipped, and they came from pride. They were first out of their parents just came from Silas City, North Carolina, and we got a fair skinned mother. And even though all of us ain't hair skin, we thought that grandmama cheated on grandpapa because my mother has red hair and I got brown hair, and then her daughter had blonde hair, blue hot. That doesn't feel right. I'm talking about legacy, that kind of intra-racism stuff. So they had to prove something. And to us, in order to be the one because you don't talk about blood. You don't talk about relation. You don't tell them where you're from. You have to earn your own legacy. What is that? Being better than me. You got to be better than me. You understand? I carved a legacy here. You don't know what it cost me being taken in the taxi. You don't know what it took for me to get here when I had to give something away. You don't know what it took my favorite pewter picture. You don't know. You don't know. So you got to carve your own and do it yourself. And my great grandfather died at 46, and she had a young baby. So she worked for 25 years as a nurse, and she was apostolic, and she was an overseer, because in the apostolic faith, we do ordain women, and they lead, and they lay hands, and they speak in tongues, and they cast out devils, and they raise the dead, and they follow, because we live by not only John 3:16, but Acts 2:38, that if you believe in him and you were baptized in water, then fire comes. We were waiting for the fire. You may know the Constitution, how it's written, but you don't know the fire that made the ink, that made the coal, that made the lead, that had to be drawn from the earth to make that rare indigo that had to be replicated in a way that was cheaper to make that blue ink that lasts throughout time on tea-stained color paper. You don't know who made the ink. You don't know the air I had to speak that I learned from an indigenous tribe member in the woods of Mississippi. The swamps of Mississippi, that then I can call a hawk and a hawk will give me a quill and bow down to me. And I'm going to bow down to it and honor a tree and leave it some grub here. You don't know the Appalachian way. You don't know the American spirit. All you know is what the fuck was written. Get some water. So we believe in ordaining Evangelist. And my great grandmother was an evangelist. She was a 5'1" human design profile that got to Pennsylvania in 1920. She was born in 1915. And met someone from the north that could sing. They said that he could sing. That the men were pimps and singers and the women were raising their children and then being nurses and then going to church, and never had another lover again in her life because that was his first love, and she never took another. But the rest of her life, she never took another. Faithful to the Lord. That our hallelujahs, hallelujahs, hallelujahs met up with some tribe drums at a drum circle in the north. That she hit and singing in church, going back to Siler City, a vibration that hit there in 1931 or something like that, that got together at the same time. You don't know the American spirit, honey. You know what was written. You don't know. We were in them trailer parks having conversations. Fuck LaWanda. Is it because she's black? No, it's because that bitch smoked my cigarettes. You came here for a race war? No, fuck LaWanda. Knowing damn well Cheryl, Bertha, and LaWanda will be at the Mule Shoe tonight, shaking ass to Busta Rhymes and trying to back that ass up to Juvenile. And then crying to I May Hate Myself in the Morning by Leanne Womack. In the Uber, because their husbands are out, they're camping because they gotta go hunting in the morning. In the Uber, crying to Britney Spears, I'm not a girl but not yet a woman. Then singing Redneck Woman. These are the things that I used to listen to. I told you I was raised in the valley. Born on the Susquehanna River, honey. They have underestimated the power of humanity because it's not mankind, it's humankind. And tonight when we had this discussion about the nullification of voting registration, if you were unhoused, it clicked for me. That was the plan. I knew I had three. I knew there was something else I couldn't figure out. Because I knew the unhousing was for class, but I had to figure out the voting thing. Why were they so heavy? Because they're expecting low voter turnouts. They're expecting low voter turnouts. This was intentional. This was intentional. And I had to correct this professor about the unhoused in Tucson. Because here's what else is going on. There's a lack of infrastructure going on here. Now, I was a housing case manager for a month before I lost the job because of trauma. They said it was too trauma adjacent when it really was because I don't belong in an office. I think that's what it was. And they were paying those housing case managers $18 an hour. Mandatory overtime. There is a massive problem with private funding because they're paying their directors six fucking figures and they're not doing a damn thing but controlling money, having expensive fucking lunches, and not paying their housing case managers. So there's a burnout situation going on here. The same way with teachers. This was intentional, hun. Now you tie back in COVID. Donald Trump spread a misinformation campaign. This was reported by American News, not like The Guardian reported this, and the Pentagon doubled down about him being anti-vaxxing. Have y'all forgotten that over 1 million people have died of fucking COVID? Have you forgot the weeping? And over 60% of those victims were poor white people. It was his fucking base. It was his base. My grandfather died of fucking COVID-related complications, man. And he was vaccinated twice because the mutations couldn't keep up. When he was given a contingency plan by the Obama administration about Wuhan flu, he labeled it, not being an endemic, but a pandemic. When he was fucking vaccinated. And got COVID. So it wasn't a hoax. Marjorie Taylor Greene is spewing about fucking raw milk. Raw milk is becoming a huge thing with liberals too. Do you know that raw milk, the pasteurization, stopped the death of millions, probably billions of people? Do you know that H5N1 has been found in raw milk? Yo, are y'all paying attention? Yo, that is nasty work. And knowing that Adolf Hitler used the study of eugenics from the U.S. government during chattel slavery. Are you fucking kidding me? Y'all don't know this? We were taught this in school. Don't y'all know this? That he had used chattel slavery in the U.S. government and eugenics to begin the Reich? Did you know that Unit 731 did awful experiments? The Japanese did horrible things to the Koreans. After the Axis powers were defeated, there were no prosecutions done on Unit 731 that did live vivisections of people, honey. 300,000 comfort women. The Bataan Death March, Agent Orange that destroyed American soldiers as well. That were some as young as 16, 17. That had no choice due to socioeconomic violence and redlining, could not get work. Their families were affected by vagrancy laws and are living on the same fucking plantation that they were told they were free from for working for 10 cents on the dollar. And someone told them from the Army Recruiter's Office that you can get insurance, benefits, and feed your family if you do this for the next 4 years. You're going to save your family. You're going to buy them a farm. What the fuck would you do for your family? They were just trying to buy that shotgun row home, hun. Then they told you that your language was too clunky, that your accent's too thick. It's not boiled chicken, it's boiled chicken. The closer you get to looking like me and talking like me, the closer you are to success in God, the closer you are to being a human, when they never saw you as human in the first fucking place, hun. They saw you as a breeding ground. Either for us, it was jail, prison, having kids, being on drugs. Pick one. Either you work for me, you go to the military, or I'm going to crush you with student loan debt. Either way, you're going to give me my shit. I'm going to get that money. Because after, like I said, after emancipation, only the ones in the territory of DC were compensated for their slaves. Because insurance companies, I worked for New York Life. Insurance companies like New York Life had insured enslaved folks that when emancipation happens or they died, they would get paid out for their slaves. They get their money back. So then you introduce the blood quantum for indigenous populations here, the civilized tribes. We're going to compensate them. Not only that, if they catch a formerly enslaved person in their territory, they return them to me or they enslave them, and we're going to pay them. Only the 5 civilized tribes receive reparations after the Trail of Tears and having the buffalo population, they compensated them. Because they were civilized. They could speak the King's English. As over 800 indigenous tribes were not included in reparations for what happened to them. Over 800 tribes were not compensated and they're recognized but received no compensation. Only the ones in the blood quantum. Because they could speak the King's English. They learn they learn the true Christian way. They're getting their money back. They're getting their money back, honey. They're getting their money back one way or the other. But they have underestimated the power of the American fucking spirit, honey, because this American spirit has no gender. Man, woman, male, female, they're all in the same shit. And tonight I talked to someone who was ordained as a Christian minister. He was a bartender. And they're actually doing a study on him and his relationship with his partner because they don't argue and they don't fight. They've been together for 5 years. She said, we just discuss, we're boring as hell. We just discuss things and we talk things out. Hey, thick thighs, we just talk about things. We discuss life and we discuss what we're angry about. And we have to write down journals. It's probably boring as fuck. He used to be a minister, but he's also returning to his old ways. And how paganism, first of all, let me tell you something. And we discussed this very clearly. And I'm going to tell you what I believe about Yeshua, personally. This is my personal thing. Because I believe in the death, burial, and resurrection of my Lord, Savior Jesus Christ. I'm a universalist minister. I was ordained as a Christian minister. I used to preach. I had choirs. I sang for Swinky Clark. I have a long history of doing this, okay? A long history, right? So anyway, let me get some water. This is what I believe. Because they're turning ancestral religions and paganism into an Aryan thing, when Odin and Thor would not have taken racial purity. Absolutely not. They would have never said that skin tone was the requirement. They would have never said that. As they're blaspheming even their ancestral gods to be Aryans. They would have never said that. Because Father Odin wanted honor. He wanted honor and valor. Even his children were fucking unruly. They wanted a certain type of spirit. It didn't matter about the skin tone or what your hair looked like or whether you had black hair, blonde hair. It didn't matter. You're going to go through a trial to join this tribe. You're going to do this trial for 7 years. Hey, Ziggy Boo. You're going to do this trial for 7 years before you can join our Viking tribe. This had nothing to do about skin tone and race. It's about honor. Can you carry your weight? That dishonors even Odin. That's not true. They were not into racial purity. They were looking for a type. That's untrue. Then you slide over to Amaterasu. You're like, what happened to you? This motherfucker. He's using me. I'm in this cave, bitch. I don't know what to do. And then I believe Yesh was like, I got you. I got what you said because the spirit world's connected. I got you. I heard you. Let me go over to Japan. What are you doing over here? Inazami. He told me that he loved me. All of a sudden, I die. He comes down here. This fucker didn't love me for what I was. He only wanted me for what I looked like. And now I'm covered in maggots and I'm angry, damn it, because he was supposed to love me. I can hear Inazami now. What the fuck? He saw me and I send demons to him. And now what he has to do, I'm going to take 1,000 and now he has to make 1,500. And he thinks that's a problem for me. It's a problem for him because I know that he does not have the stamina to make 1,500 a day without me. I'm only making this up. Curtis was supposed to love me. I can hear Yeshua now like, that's bullshit. I agree with you. Let me take this with me. I'm going to turn this sin into a fruit of the spirit. I'm going to turn this into self-control. I'm going to turn this into wisdom. I'm going to turn this into knowledge. I'm going to turn this into, he comes over, right? This is just my own, I'm making this up. This is just what I believe. This is my connection. Work out your own soul salvation. So then he comes over to Hindu mythology. He's like, all right, what's going on over here? Where's my pantheon over here? What happened over you? He comes to Ganesha. Stop! Yeshua, stop. Let me tell you about this elephant head bullshit. So my mother, Parvati, is in her natural divine form, and I knew that while she was creating, my dad could not take her because he would be destroyed because she was in her divine form and bullshit. And he cut my head off. I tried to stop him. My mom got mad and said, find the best thing. So, of course, he couldn't find my head. I got this elephant shit, but I'm about knowledge. And let me go to Toth real quick. He's over there in Egypt. Go figure out what's going on over there. Shiva, let me talk to you real quick. Hey, I see you with a broken tusk, Ganesha. Why? Well, I was mad at the moon, so I took my shit and I threw it. What are you doing? Let me take that from you. Give it to me. Do better. Talk to the moon. I'm only making this up. Talk to the moon. I gotta get out of here. He comes to Egypt. What's going on? Hey, Sean. We're just talking bullshit. Now I'm here at the moon. I'm in Egypt. Y'all, listen, y'all been here for a while. Talk to me. What's up, Noon? What's up? Well, I have some familial shit going on with these humans down here. How about you? Well, I heard that they're burning bodies over in India, honey, and they don't like what's going on. This is some bullshit. Let me tell you about it. He comes over to Rome. Gaia, what's up? These white people are about to do something that is fucked up, Yeshua. Let me tell you. Let me introduce you to Pluto and Persephone. Leave Demeter where she's at. Let me tell you a story real fast, because they got me fucked up. Lilith, they got me fucked up. I'm tired of this one selfish god, damn it. I'm tired. There's this one god that's about to come up and steal the whole shit. You got to get this one in check. What I got to do? Well, we're going to slam you in 1 AD, and you're going to figure it out. I just made this up. Now you're going to figure it out. Like, these motherfuckers is crazy. They are crazy. I was in the burning bush. I'm in the cloud. Where is the spirit at? They're writing a bunch of shit. There's a bunch of old men here. They don't like women. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? And then Yeshua says, I'm going to take all of it. I'm going to do something for them. What's the greatest one that washes out all of it? Love. I'm about to love them motherfuckers down. Not only does he preach love, socialism, Buddha starved to death. He talked to Buddha too. Buddha said, I try to teach them ethical socialism. I gave up my castles for this. And they're just stealing. And now I starved. I saw enlightenment though. Hopefully it's not the same for you. It was much worse for Yeshua. No. Yeshua got it a little bit worse than... This wasn't the design. This wasn't the design. This wasn't the design. I haven't written a book yet, but I want to. This isn't the design. Honey, you're about to go through some shit. Even your conceptions, because we're about to go away for a little bit. There's about to be a great deluge. Because they're angry, and we fucked up. You're up. You're up. You're up, Yeshua. Good luck, my boy. Good luck, my boy. May the odds be ever in your favor. We're going to make you a human, too. You're going to feel everything. You're going to feel everything. I mean everything. Are you ready for this? No, I am not. We're going to give you help, though. We're going to give you this guy named John. You're going to do it together. Then they kill John. Like, what the fuck? They killed John! They killed John! They killed my boy. That's my best friend. Yo, we are radicals, man. This is my boy. They got my boy. Then I got 12 people that don't believe in shit. They're just as patriarchal. You meant that this is going to be ideological? This shit was in a book. You're going to put me here in a book and all I can do is use my feet? I can't fly and shit? I can't fly? I gotta do this regular, divine and human, mind, body, and spirit. You gonna make me a Pisces? I'm only imagining how Yeshua had this conversation with all the pantheons. Because I really do believe that Yeshua was the seven-way path for all seven continents, and that love was the ultimate redeemer. That love, and protecting other people, protecting as above, so below, that I believe that they were just trying to say the same thing. They just had their own issues. Because gods have issues too. That's what I believe. And he comes over to Yoruba religion, like, yo. And they're like, yo, we got this. There's Oshun, there's Yamaya. Huh. Let me tell you something. Down here, we got Oludamare. Mama's up there. Mama's there. Daddy's here. We don't even discuss gender because it's just bullshit. We know what's going on here. Well, I'm going to make you watchers. What do you mean? Something's about to happen to you because you've had it too clean. That's what he said. It's you're up. You're up. Hit it. We're scattered, bitch. The chattel slavery. This was not the design. You're about to hit me with breeding camps. You're gonna break them up by language. They can't even speak the same language. All they can do is moan and groan across the ocean. I'm watching my children leave. And I can't even talk to them. You took diamonds from us. You took our jewels. Yes. And when you get to America, you got some Mayans, some Incans up there, Tohono O'odhams. You're going to meet some Thunderbirds when you get there. Have you ever seen a Thunderbird? They're all going to meet right there. And they unite. They're going to meet there. Y'all are going to meet together there. I did my suffering. Bring them back. Bring them back to spirit. Bring them back to love. Bring them back to compassion. Bring them back to wisdom. Bring them back to knowledge. I did the hard part. I will do this in the flesh. You do this in the ego. I'm out of here. Wrap it up. Then they turned it into being homophobic, transphobic, sexist. That was the design. That was the design. They were going to lie to us about some things. They were going to keep us in class wars and voting blocks and thought that we were going to have a conversation. They underestimated the power of social media, that we already knew what the fuck was up. We're watching Avatar: The Last Airbender. Miss me with the bullshit. Water and air. Miss me with the bullshit. And for real, I would be an airbender. Even though I'm by birth a waterbender. Air would be my favorite. Because I want to fly. I want to be the one to fucking fly. I'm trying to make a thunderclap. Listen. I'm born in water, but honey, I'm wrapped in air. I had to learn about balance from lion turtles and the many-faced spirit. We were watching Pokemon. We're bound to our pets. I can't feed my dog. My dog or Trump? Okay. All I have is my dog. And if my dog don't eat, because my dog eats for my dog. Honey, we're too bound to our Pokemon. Listen, pantheons are talking to each other. There's a lady on here, and I don't know why black folks are getting on her. She said, Oshun told me, and I'm like, it's a closed practice. Then you show them the way, because Oshun really is talking to people. If y'all cannot, I am vegetarian. I do not eat meat. Honey, listen. 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 The pantheons are talking to each other because they're also waiting to come back to love and exchanging ideas. They're waiting too. Like, let's reclaim this for... Listen. They need the water clean because there are water spirits and there's a water spirit. Honor thy father and thy mother did not just mean honor thy father. You can't believe that. You can't believe that your God had a wife. Of course he did. Honey, honor thy father and thy mother, and the mother is angry. Honey, you have pissed off the children of the mother. The children of the father and the mother. Honey, you know the logo. You don't know the rhema. You may know the language, honey. You don't know how it's supposed to be spoken. You don't know the hurts. Your heart does not cause electrical impulses to make that vibration to vibrate out the vocal flaps and that stomach acid to come out of your mouth to connect to your mind. Those synapses don't connect with that kind of vibration because you can't say it. And if you can't say it, you can't understand it. Our lightning isn't the same. We don't meet. You thought that we had to be together in the same house. It's gathered together in the same heart, mind, air, water, earth, in the same mind, hearing at the same frequency that activates the mind to shoot up some synapses that then make these tiny little jolts that vibrate down the mouth, that hit the occipital lobe, that makes the thrum of the eardrum go like tambourines, like I gotcha now, because we're a people of sound and intonation, clicks, claps, fire, vibration, the fire of creation, hun. You may know how it's written, but you don't have it. You don't have it. And you weren't supposed to. You've been terrible to your mother, and you thought that she wasn't going to respond. And that's why I love the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Mary and the Jubilees and Enoch and all that stuff and mythology. I love it because they're all talking about science, physics, and wonder, right? We're made out of numbers, logic, elements, all that kind of shit. But they were teaching, there's a whole book in the canon called the Book of Numbers. Why would there be a book of numbers if you weren't supposed to follow the numbers? Our ancestors were hiding in plain sight. You thought they were just holy rolling, stomping, honey, but they were doing sound and vibration. They were doing dance under lights. They were clapping their hands to a beat that couldn't be understood. They were communicating in a language that their ancestors could hear because the vibrations that caused the synapses and all that shit to make lightning that came out of their mouth, because it's a spirit. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. It's water and air, H2O, that kind of shit. Lightning was the fire of creation by friction. I'm talking about cellular things, hon. You know how it's written. You don't know how to say it because it's not in you. You don't have the same vibrations. You thought it would come from the castle when it was coming from the field. And guess who's on the field? The same black, white, Asian, indigo. Guess what? They're all on the same field. You put drag queens in the same field. And now the straights are at IBTs trying to get a lap dance. Honey, you put us in the same field and you thought that we did not have the same vibration. We were walking as a unit. And what he said was that in the last days, there will be no male, female, no man, no woman. Because we were all one in the same spirit. You were returning to the mother. The father has been waiting to see her. Had you read the book of Thomas, you would know that yes, that Peter could not stand women. Paul hated women, that it was Levi that stood up for Mary in the book of Mary Magdalene, and that she went into a trance, and that the spirit of craving had come up and spoken to all of them at the same time. That the demon craving came out of the floor and spoke to them all at the same time. And Peter called Mary a liar. That Levi stood up for her and said, "This is our sister." And had you watched the book of Thomas, you would know that Yeshua took her outside and led her in the way of a male. Because when you see 3 gods, they are indeed gods. But when you see 2, I am with him. you would tie back to the Garden of Eden, that there were four in that garden. There were four, not three. There were supposed to be four. You would know that Jacob's ladder is a DNA sequence. That Jacob was holding on to a DNA sequence. Because your DNA forms in ladders. He was holding on to him. He was wrestling with the angel for days. He was wrestling with the star pattern. He was wrestling with the DNA with zeros and ones. Binary 0101001. That's in your DNA, hon. He was holding on to a sequence that belonged to God that would get him back to heaven. That there were four in that garden: male, female, man, and woman. And them. 5. In the big man, woman, both male and female, he created them. Them. Masculine, feminine, third gender, two spirit, one person. You would know that Yeshua took Mary outside, his most faithful disciple, after Peter had said to Yeshua, take her outside because Mary's not worthy of life. And in the Gospel of Thomas, extra canonical, verse 114. Yeshua said to Simon Peter, I'm going to take her outside. And I'm going to lead her in the way of a male so that she may be worthy to stand before you. And in verse 14, I believe, or 13, he says, when you see both man and woman fall prostrate because that one is your father, because you are returning to the mother. And that Yeshua's name means to deliver, and that John's name means grace. Grace was beheaded. Yeshua meant to deliver, and that Yeshua was out of that tomb after being recovered for, 11 days? And spoke to Mary twice. Peter once. John once. Because John was the one that saw the shit. John was at the foot of the cross when they pierced him in his side, and water and blood came out, and the water and blood splashed the soldier and healed him of his infirmity. And he yelled out, this one is the Son of God. When they took him, they put him in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. Right? He was there for 3 days. And breaking tradition, it was Mary Magdalene, and I think another went with her to wash the body. Mary went. Mary witnessed from the tree with the other apostles after Peter denied his best friend. Peter denied knowing him as Yeshua prophesied 3 times. I don't know him. I don't know him. I don't know him. Coming back to Judas, Judas betrayed Yeshua for 30 silver, and the priests could not take back the money because they knew that Yeshua was kin. It would be a sin to take blood money because familicide angered the god of war the most. It angered the Greek gods the most, and they were trying to become Hellenized for the Roman government. Put it together. They were trying to Hellenize and merge these things together. And they could not participate in familicide because Yeshua was from the tribe of Judah and a Levite, and they were Judeans. They were Pharisees and Sadducees. They were family. They couldn't take the money. So they used Judas instead because he wasn't in the same house nor the same tribe. It wasn't familicide. They couldn't take the money back. They rejected the money on purpose. They couldn't take blood money. Because that's our kin. We can't kill Yeshua because he's our kin. That dishonors the gods. Because the first sin, the first blood sin was the was Cain stoning Abel, and the blood had screamed to heaven and said, "Yo, my brother just killed me." That was their brother. They couldn't do it. They couldn't participate in that, but they could bribe someone to do it because they're not family. Get someone else to do it. They're not in the same tribe. So John the Baptist was the one that was there. Not John the Baptist, John the Revelator. I'm sorry, because John the Baptist was dead. John the Revelator was there. He was at the foot. He wasn't afraid. And Mary was there, his mother. He's in the tomb. He's guarded by two. Now, when I put this together for you, it's in the Gospel of Thomas. It's going to all come back together for you. My followers know this too. She washed the body. First of all, there are some questions here. So Mary saw it. Mary washed the body. She knew he was dead. They could not work on the Sabbath. So on the third day, who comes to the tomb first? Mary. Mary and Mary come. And Jesus has a conversation. Jesus has a conversation with her. Them both. So he appears to her first because Mary was faithful. She showed up. She cleaned the body. She was there. Got it. Then John the Revelator comes. And Yeshua was waiting for John. That's how the story goes. Yeshua was waiting for John. John shows up. They have a conversation. Okay. I told the other apostles to wait for something. Where are they? They're in the house of Siloam. They're in the upper room in the house of Siloam. It's fine. That's fine. I'm going to appear to Peter. Comes to Peter. And I don't understand why he comes to Peter. Right? That's the third conversation. They're in the upper room. Yeshua appears through a locked door, but fire falls on them first. Because in Acts 2:38, the day of Pentecost, they're all drunk. They're drunk, right, Malcolm? They were drunk. Honey, they were tore up. When Yeshua told them to be sober, he was coming. Be sober. The promise is coming. Be sober. Now, this is after Peter cut off the man's ear in the Garden of Gethsemane, cut off the guard's ear. And Yeshua says to Peter, those that live by the sword will die by the sword, Peter. He heals the ear on the Sabbath. Shocks him. Whoa! This is the one. That's the one. Now, Yeshua told Peter, those that live by the sword die by the sword. That was a prophecy, hon. I know what you know is written, Peter, but what I just told you is a prophecy. Those that live by the sword, Peter, will die by the sword. Know that. Let's go. Right? They were having a wake and they were pissy drunk. Pissy. The only one that's not in the upper room is Thomas, doubting Thomas. He's not there. Probably traveling on a journey. Fire falls on the day of Pentecost. It does fall. They get it. Now, news is spreading that Yeshua has come back. Thomas says that can't be true. I was there at the upper room. I don't know what's going on. I got there late, but I was, Yeshua appears to him days later. So not only is Yeshua walking the street as the avatar, not Aang and Rava flexing. This man died for 3 days. And here's why 3 days are important. Because in that culture, in that time, after 3 days, they believe that the spirit will leave the body. So 3 days is really, really important. That at the 36th hour, there's no way he could come back. There's no way that he can come back now because it's been 3 days. His spirit's gone. It's gone. That's it. Done. He ain't back. He appears to Thomas. Yo, my boy. That can't be you. He said, touch me. So Thomas, meaning twin, touches the blood, touches the wound, says, oh my God, it is you. Yes. Where are the others? They're at the house of Siloam. Cue the Gospel of Thomas. Boom. And this was taken out of the canon for this particular reason. Y'all not going to like this, because when I tie it back to Matthew, you're going to flip. You Christians are not going to like this shit. Because remember, Yeshua said this to y'all in the Gospel of Matthew. There may be eunuchs from the womb, eunuchs from man, and eunuchs from heaven. You are to love them just the same. Take that from the Gospel of Matthew. Hold that right there. We're going to put it back together. They're in the house of Siloam. Yeshua appears through the locked door. They are scared to death. Then Thomas enters the door. Thomas knocked. Because Yeshua appeared through the locked door. The apostles say, who are you? Are you a prophet? No. Don't bow to me. I'm not your master. You know my mother and my father, but you don't know my mother and my father. You don't know my true mother, Yeshua says. You don't know him. Now remember, after Yeshua had died, he descended to hell for 3 days. 3 days. 3. Yeshua tells this story to Mary Magdalene at the tomb. The Gospel of Mary. He told her this. I descended to hell, and I had taken 3. And he went to 3. And he's talking to anger and wrath and envy, and they're testing him as he's rising up. So he's talking to Mary and told her this. Mary already knows this. So now Mary was at the tomb. Mary washed the body. They had a conversation. Mary is in the room of the house of Siloam. They're in the upper room having a conversation. And you're wondering what this is. I will upload it to YouTube. And if you're wondering what they're talking about, this is the Great Commission. Mary is having the Gospel of Mary. They're talking at the same time. This is the Great Commission when Yeshua comes and sends them out, because Levi is the one that leaves the door first. Levi says, let's go, let's do it. This is the Great Commission because Yeshua leaves and they have a conversation with Mary. And Peter is pissed. There's no way Yeshua told you this. And Levi says, yes. She was the closest one to him. You can't believe that he would tell her that, a lie? He told her this. Right? This is after Jesus has left after the locked door. Out of the locked door. He's gone. Disappeared. They're weeping. He's gone. Yeshua says to them clearly, when you see man and woman, male and female at the same time, fall prostrate, that one's your father. That's a third gender eunuch. That is a eunuch from heaven, from mankind, and from the womb. That's a third gender two-spirit eunuch. Because they have an XY chromosome. Because they carry the Y. The mother is the Y chromosome and the X chromosome. She's everything. And they're passing a Y chromosome back and forth between the mother and the father. Back and forth. The tree of life. I'm going to pass this back over and over again. Back and forth. We're going to exchange places over and over again. Right? Forever. That was the design. And how do you prove this? In verse 114 of the Gospel of Thomas, because Thomas was sober. Remember this, they were in the upper room and they were drunk. The apostles were drunk in the upper room in the house of Siloam. Thomas was sober. And Yeshua takes Thomas outside to have another conversation. Because when the apostles are drunk, Yeshua says to them, you are drunk off of the bubbling spring that I have measured out. This wasn't for you. You have the gifts, you don't have the fruit. This wasn't for you. Not you. He takes Thomas outside. And when Thomas comes back, it's the ankh. When he comes back inside, the ankh is actually on my left calf. That's a tattoo. You don't have that? I have a tattoo. There's an ankh on my left calf right here. You can't see it, but it's right there. I have an ankh on my left calf. Yeah, boy. So, yeah, it's on my, I don't know what the significance is about the left calf, but it's on my left side. So Thomas is sober. And he takes Thomas outside. Thank you, boo. I made this shirt myself like 3 years ago. Takes him outside. He comes back inside with Yeshua and they say, what did he tell you? And Thomas says, if I tell you one of these things, you're going to pick up a rock and stone me. But I promise when you throw it, a fire will leap out of it and consume your body. But they were too drunk to understand that he'd been given a gift. Because remember something, word to us in our culture is spirit. He had passed the Holy Spirit on to Thomas. Now Thomas touched the blood. Mary cleaned the body. You feel me? Like, you got to understand something. This Thomas has now accepted all of it. Thomas knows the full tea. Yeshua comes back inside. He says, listen. I'm going to tell you all these things. Where do you come? You're children of light. If you honor thy mother and thy father, you know this one. You don't know this one. I'm telling you something, man. I'm telling you in the easiest way I can explain it. Simon Peter, the father of the church. Simon Peter, the father of the patriarch, says this to Yeshua in the Gospel of Thomas. Why is Mary here? Because Salome had left the room because a servant was at Salome's door. And Yeshua says to the apostles, that servant will inherit the kingdom of heaven. The poor one will inherit the kingdom of heaven. Be like the poor one. So now Salome's not in the room. Mary is the only woman disciple in the room. And he said, why is Mary in here? Mary's not worthy of life, Simon Peter says to Yeshua. Yeshua, and that's in verse 113. Yeshua responds in verse 114. Simon Peter, I'm going to take Mary outside. And I'm going to talk to her. And I'm going to lead her in the way of a male. I'm going to make her into a male. So that when you see her next, she'll be worthy to stand among you. That is the end of the Gospel of Thomas. I'm going to take her outside. I'm going to take her outside. I'm going to lead her in the way of a male. I'm going to turn her into one. That is the last time Yeshua speaks in the entire Gospels. Then they ask Mary, what did Yeshua tell you? Mary lapses into a full, I'll tell you. Mary then sits down. And I read it a few nights ago. Mary sits down. And she's exhausted. She does a channel. This is what Yeshua told me. And it cues into the demon of craving speaking. This is the Gospel of Mary. That the demon of wanting, craving is speaking. And Peter said, that can't be true. You're a liar. And then Levi says, that's not true. Why would he tell her this? She was the closest one to him. Let us go out and preach the gospel. That ends. And listen, honey, it may not be your God, because your God is a God of war, rape, incest, and pedophilia. And your God probably requires blood sacrifice. But you were told something, to study to show thyself approved. I'm going to tell you something else. The only sin that's unforgivable is blaspheming the Holy Spirit. And I'm going to tell you something. When my great-grandmother, when I was watching her, all I wanted was the gift of wisdom and knowledge. I've been doing this since I was 10 years old. Told that I was responsible for my family's sin when I was carrying generations of sin, probably yours. The recipient of your hate and your lack of knowledge. So I made sure that I followed Spirit. We prayed for this, for Shekinah glory. You could not leave that hallelujah night until you got in tongues. You had to be able to speak in tongues. Be not deceived. As you have drank the Kool-Aid of your homophobia, your transphobia, your overturning of Roe v. Wade, your relinquishing of the fruit of the Spirit that are when you had none to begin with, when you were a tree with no fruit and nothing to back it up. I had to teach myself Aramaic a little bit to understand exactly what was going on, because you know the Logos word, you don't know the Rhema, because you're not supposed to understand the utterance. You're not supposed to understand your utterance. When I've taken no children, when I sacrificed my seed to follow Spirit on purpose to do exactly what I'm doing. And every day I'm studying. Every day I'm studying. I left my hometown, did you? And went to a place where folks did not look like me. Protesting since 2007. For the workers' union. That was my first protest. For the workers' union. And for DOMA. Around the Harrisburg State Capitol. Honey, we're not doing the same thing. No one in my family went to church. I would sleep with the Bible underneath my bed, taking notes and having visions. I went to All Faith to find out exactly what was going on. And the only thing that I will not debate is a perfect sacrifice, because anyone that would do that for me, there are folks that wouldn't even sacrifice $2 for me. But someone was going to die for me. And that's my life's work. And even now, I would die for you. Anyone that requires my life till all this pain and suffering will stop. Honey, we're not doing the same thing. This is my life's work. It's my dream to help and teach people and save the world, one person at a time. And I don't give a good goddamn about your deity. I don't. Because I follow Spirit. Honor thy mother and the father. I honor the father, the mother, the martyrs, the ancestors, cellular ancestry. I'm trying to break up classism, teach intersectionality, radical trauma healing, folks to embrace themselves, heal their wounds, and live their lives separate from the colonized Christianity, from oppressive Islamic tactics, because it is just as fucking oppressive. Let's not mince words. Trying to break them free of a fucking curse that was led by men of war, to subjugate men, women, children that did not believe. I'm trying to break some folks free of something important. Study to show thyself approved. I'm getting off of here. I feel great. I needed that. I needed that. I really did need that. We said, what makes you qualified to educate? Well, my 3 degrees. My 3 degrees. My military career, because I'm a combat vet. My ordination as a universal minister. What you got? You thought this was a game? Nope. This is my life's work. Humanity. And I will give my life for it. You got the wrong generation, honey. And you got the wrong bitch. I ain't got nothing to lose. I walk the walk and I talk the talk. I'm trying to get my folks together. I'm trying to get my tribe. I'm trying to get my tribe. My people. I'm trying to get my people ready. I'm trying to get my folks. I'm trying to get them. I'm trying to get the heaven in. I'm trying to get them to manifest. I'm trying to get them to dream. I'm trying to get them to boy, I'm trying to get my tribe, my people who are called to me. Because I'm called to you, you called to me. We called to each other. I'm trying to get my folks healthy, fit, clear-minded, open-minded. I don't care about your faith. I love you anyway. I just want to love you. I'm a universalist. I just do what I want. I do what I do. Do what you do and do it well. I love you. Love yourself. Love other people. Thank you for that gift. Take care of yourself and take care of other people. If your hands can't help somebody, please don't use your hands to hurt them. And if your hands can't help but to hurt them, go home. Punch a wall, Kyle. Punch a wall. Avoid your pets. Avoid your kids. Avoid the living. And if you can't do that, cut them bitches off before you come outside. Because this time around, we are the logos and manifestation in the Rhema form, and these lions have teeth. Bye.